Hello, tropical trainers! Today, we're asking the question, can you beat Pokémon White 2 with only a Darmanitan? Well, I mean, duh, the answer is yes. But it only took 20 hours, over $3,000 raised for charity, 10 other people, and my sanity! This whole story starts over a year ago in January 2024. I just rebranded into being a PNG tuber, going from flesh to squares. Problem is, I didn't have many VTuber friends. A few months in, and I saw this post on Twitter. It was inviting people to join the Vtuber Summer Slam that June. I figured it would be a great chance to take the people I already knew, and then try to put my name out there in a new space for a good cause. Problem is, I was woefully inexperienced with organizing anything for charity. I'd watch charity streams, but I wasn't sure how to tap into that culture for myself. Long story short, I did a very poorly planned 5-day-long set of streams with a few YouTuber friends popping in as co-hosts. I beat the first Pokemon White with Darmanitan and somehow raised $1,000. Still, 10 times over my goal back then, but I still knew I could do better. What if next year I tried to triple the scale of the event? Yeah, I could do that. I did not know that this would cost me my sanity. Flash forward to April 2025 and the dates were out. The Vtuber Summer Slam 2025 was going to be at the end of June. And just like last year, the event is hosted by Gamers Outreach. They're a charity that, through a wide variety of programs, brings video games to kids in hospitals worldwide. It's a great charity run by great people. I'll have more information in the card at the top right and in the description. Most importantly though, is their go-kart program. $3,500 pays for a whole console, the cart, the monitor, and more for a hospital. I knew that's what I wanted to raise money for, but I had no idea if I could. So at the start of May, I contacted 8 of my VTuber friends, and also my editor, and also my girlfriend who had only done one stream before this. I mean, I feel kinda bad, but she did amazing, so it's fine. And then I immediately hit my first roadblock, the entire country of Italy. At the start of May, I went to Italy on a vacation with my family. It was an incredible trip, seeing the sights and the arts and the culture. The problem with that is that I should really have been planning the event. But I was across the globe with just my phone and some clothes. So when I got back, it was a mad dash to try and schedule the team's first meeting and plan everything before that. So the premise of the event is that all 10 of us, as a yet unnamed team, we're each going to do solo runs of our own Pokemon games at the same time. So what's a solo run? Well, they didn't really know either. So despite writing a bunch of very poorly worded channels of documentation on Discord, we did the first meeting. And it was literally just a notepad I had typed on beforehand, poorly explaining how all of this worked. Solo run rules are very simple. In battle, you can only use your chosen Pokemon. Just one of them, unless you are gooey. All in-battle items and methods of training and TMs are all legal. I also might have let people fool around with their save files beforehand to get egg moves and stuff to make things more interesting. I didn't know, I just replaced Tepig as a starter. For the charity stuff specifically, everyone had their own Tiltify campaigns set up, so everybody's communities had their own rewards and milestones to fulfill. All the money from those campaigns was then funneled into the overall campaign. So you'd see the total from all of the campaigns go up, and everybody had their own singular milestone on that track to hit. So basically, everyone does their own solo runs on their own time, all raising money for the same goal. There's also a big voice chat you can hop in together, which is why you'll see them under my gameplay most of the time. So with the rules set, and after a second, much more organized meeting, everything was decided. We were Team Cherish. They even convinced me to raise our original goal from $1,500 to $2,000 by default. I also have a mega playlist with everyone's VODs included, so if you'd like to see everybody else's perspectives, check the iCard in the top right. And with that, the stage is set. I can finally get started on my challenge run. But first we need to actually break down the challenge run. Darumaka is an incredibly simple physical attacker. Its main stat is attack, which is sky high. It also has decent speed and HP. However, its special attack is abysmal. Special moves are basically worthless. Being a mono fire type, Darumaka has several resistances. So on paper, it seems good defensively, right? Well, it would be if Darumaka's defenses weren't absolutely horrible. Even a neutral attack does a ridiculous amount of damage, which is made even worse considering its only 3 weaknesses, ground, rock, and water, are ridiculously common types. So our plan is to not get hit and always hit first, which is why we now need to talk about Darumaka's ability, Hustle. Darumaka's attack stat is always increased by 50%, but always has a 20% chance to miss every attack. So our new plan is to not get hit, always hit first, and bet it all on red, baby! And so, for real this time, our journey actually begins. You know, just after an hour of resetting to get an adamant nature Darumaka. My other team members had already raised $100 before I even went live, so we were off to a great start. I quickly blitzed through the start of the game as Darumaka is generally saved until a few gyms in for a reason. Speaking of, gym number 1. Jared is a normal type gym leader who is basically a pushover. Darumaka at this point in the game has 4 moves. Tackle, Frustration, Rollout, and Fire Fang. Tackle and Rollout are weak moves that'll be replaced very soon. Frustration is just better Tackle, being a normal physical move that does more damage with low friendship. Considering we just got Darumaka, that's no issue. Most importantly, we have Fire Fang, a good fire physical attack that we get a same type attack boost with. While I had a scare missing the first Fire Fang, the battle was no problem and ended very quickly. A short walk later, now accompanied with my friends, and we arrive at Burbank City. Gym number 2 is Poison type, which I thought was going to be a way harder fight. From my infinite wisdom of years of being hyperfixated on this franchise, I thought that Poison resisted fire types and was weak to rock. Yeah, so neither of these are true. But despite this, I thought using Rollout was a good idea anyways. Roxy's ace, Whirlipede, is weak to rock anyway due to being a bug, so a charged Rollout should have killed it. And then it protected, cancelled Rollout, I missed twice in a row, and I lost the first attempt. Thankfully, my streamer friends corrected me, so on attempt 2, I just used Fire Fang and won. I then proceeded to get lost and completely forgot where I was going in the game. I starred in a movie, got forced to play pinball for a while, accidentally did some grinding, and then eventually got to Castelia City. I finished the sewer quest and ended the stream for the night. Oh, and we also canceled Machop in the process. Put some pants on, dude. By the end of night 1, we'd already raised $924. I was completely supercharged and ready to go for the next day. Day 2 was when the cracks started to form. After I went to bed, we managed to pass $1,000 raised. In one day, we were already halfway to our goal. Before we started the event, I had already brought up with the team the suggestion of adding stretch goals, and only a few people submitted one. I didn't think the total would skyrocket on day 2, so I figured I'd have time and remind more people to submit one. So day 2 begins and I'm already right at the front door of gym number 3. Burger's a bug type gym leader, so on paper, this should be easy. Unfortunately, Dwebble exists. Thanks to Swadloon dropping my speed on the first turn, Dwebble will usually outspeed Darumaka and hit a super effective smackdown. Even after knocking it out, Leavanny will come in, outspeed again, and finish Darumaka off immediately. After some grinding, I got a miracle attempt where String Shot wasn't used. Since Darumaka now had Fire Punch, which is just better Fire Fang, I could outdamage and outspeed Dwebble to take less damage. Thankfully, Darumaka tanked Leavanny's cut and swung for the badge. After that annoyance, I figured I would be out of the woods for a bit, but unfortunately, Colrus exists. He's a reoccurring trainer who specializes in steel types, which should be easy for a fire type attacker, right? However, he leads with Magnemite, who almost always leads with Thunder Wave. Since Magnemite has Sturdy, it always survives a hit and always paralyzes. Paralysis lowers your speed by 75% in Gen 5 and also adds a 25% chance to miss. This, combined with Hustle's already existing 20% accuracy drop, makes this entire fight a giant coin flip. I just had to keep retrying it until I beat Magnemite and eventually the following Clink. Very shortly after, I got to Gym 4, Elisa, and after one fight, I immediately realized the severe issue. Her electric types, especially Emolga, are fast and hit like a truck. At this point, it's way too late in the game to bother with Hustle, and I was already level 32, so I knew what I had to do. After some grinding, a brief theater excursion, and more grinding, Darumaka evolved into Darmanitan. This clip was also on the Gamers Outreach Twitter, which is pretty cool. Anyway, let's talk important upgrades. Stats-wise, it's more of the same. More speed, a bit more HP, and a monstrous 140 attack stat. However, the real upgrade is our new ability, Sheer Force. Sheer Force raises the base power of attacks by 30%, but only if they have additional effects. Although, the additional positive effects are removed. Sheer Force is weirdly complicated, but to keep a long story short, our fire attacks don't burn, but all do more damage now. Speaking of moves, let's talk upgraded moveset. Fire Punch is now accompanied by Flare Blitz, which does even more damage. On top of that, it's boosted by sheer force, but we do take some recoil damage. So to use it effectively, you have to switch between Fire Punch and Flare Blitz depending on if you really need that extra attack. There's also Dig, giving us ground type coverage, but it takes 2 whole turns. And lastly is Hammer Arm, a fighting move that does a ton of damage but drops my speed stat by 1. And with this newfound power, I pretty much just steamrolled Elisa's gym, claiming our next badge. After that, I made the trek to the next gym and ended stream for the day, but then the doubts started to set in. The donation count at the end of the day was only $1,041. We barely raised $16. I got nervous. The negative thoughts creeped in, wondering if we'd even pass the original planned 1.5k goal over the course of the week. Thing is, we still had a whole week to go, so I just calmed my nerves for the night. But to make things worse, my online classes properly started that night, so I had to spend my night stressed out of my mind and learning Spanish. Not fun at all. As I woke up on day 3, I noticed we had already accumulated another $150, which eased my nerves somewhat. I spent my morning organizing stretch goals from what people had already submitted, which was only half of us. Still scared from yesterday, I decided to spread out the goals by $100 each rather than $200 like previous goals. I figured making it easy to obtain might encourage more donations. This would come back to haunt me later. I began day 3 stream with $1,200 raised. I was initially terrified about Gym 5 as Clay specializes in ground types, which is bad considering Darmanitan is weak to ground. However, Clay clearly did not account for the fact that every single one of his Pokemon dies to a single Flare Blitz. It was definitely the mood booster I needed. After that, we made a brief detour to the Pokemon World Tournament where I obliterated Culverus in a rematch. Unfortunately, the PWT requires multiple Pokemon to do, so aside from the first run that's mandatory for the story, we can't do it again. That means all of the amazing items that are rewards here, like the Choice Band or Life Orb, are just off the table. After an encounter with Team Plasma and a short walk through Chargestone Cave, we arrived at Miss Stralton City. I was initially worried for Gym 6 as Skyla's ace is Swanna. Being a water type, this is an immediate threat. To make things worse, Swanna resists both water and fighting and is immune to ground. All 3 of my main attacks were off the table, but I decided to give it a first try anyway. I knock out her first Pokemon and she sends in Swanna. I hit Flare Blitz and it doesn't knock out, leaving Swanna in the red. I mean, I thought this attempt ended right here as I was already under half health from recoil and I was expecting Bubble Beam for game. Then for some reason she uses Feather Dance to lower my attack? Then her Swanna automatically uses a Citrus Berry, healing her back to the orange range. If Swanna had stayed in the red, Skyla would have used a potion on her next turn, restoring HP to full. There's a much more likely scenario where Darmanitan would have died to recoil or an actual water move if it missed. But since her HP was so high, she just went for a regular attack, which I outsped for a knockout. Her Skarmory was tough, but it's weak to fire, so it could barely even hit me. Another badge secured. After getting lost again, I got through Stark Mountain and into Undella Town. Usually, Undella Town is unremarkable, being a little filler map location with some amazing music. The only notable fight here is against your rival, and the Demon. I haven't mentioned the rival at all up to this point, as he's basically not even a threat. The only notable Pokemon was his starter, Oshawott. However, that Oshawott finally becomes his final form, Samurott, right here. Samurott is a slow, bulky, water physical attacker. So on paper, I should just be able to outspeed and KO. Wrong! Samurott has Aqua Jet, which is a usually just okay physical water move. However, Aqua Jet has priority, meaning it always goes first. Despite its low power, water weakness plus Samurott's high physical attack plus the Mystic Water item equals an almost guaranteed one-hit KO. After well over an hour of switching between grinding and attempts, I finally took home the win. Originally, this is where I was supposed to end for the day, but seeing as donations had just kept flowing in, I was motivated to keep going. Listen, y'all, if there's people crazy enough to do charity streams for 24 hours straight, I can push through playing more of a video game to raise more dollars out of my audience. And in the end, the choice would absolutely prove to be worth it. Gym number 7 was no slouch. The Opelucid City Gym specializes in dragon types, which all resist fire attacks. To circumvent this, I upgraded all of my non-fire type moves. Hammer Arm was upgraded to Superpower, which did even more damage. The problem is that using it drops your attack and defense. I wasn't thinking very clearly at the time, so I failed to realize how bad having a move that lowers your attack on a Pokemon whose only good stat is attack actually was. This would come back to haunt me later. I also had the leftovers held item by this point, which meant I got a little bit of HP back each turn. So I began the gym challenge. The gym trainers here actually proved to be an issue, as the second trainer had Rock Slide and the third one forces you to use 3 Pokemon. I was fully confident and ready to go for the gym leader. And then both the best and worst scenario possible happened at the same time. You see, Pokemon Blossom Pink,
Hi YouTube!
one of the members of Team Cherish, had a very expensive donation reward which would force her to speak in Nya Latin for a while. Considering how much she hated every second of this, I thought this was the funniest thing I had ever seen. However, karma exists. By this point in the day, we were exactly $200 short of hitting our $2,000 goal. And one chat member had a bet. If I joined in and extended Pink's Nya timer, they would donate $200 right then and there. I thought this was just a bluff, you know, a funny little joke. I was so wrong. So here I am, about to go into one of the hardest gym battles in the game, making cat noises for charity. I mean, we did hit our goal after all. God, what would famous philanthropist John D. Rockefeller think of this? Anyway, Drayden's gym battle. He leads with a very bulky Druddigan that quickly and slowly shreds through my HP. Next up is Flygon, which is a ground dragon type. The only move I had that I thought could damage this thing is Superpower, which with every use makes me weaker as it slowly whittles down my HP with Earth Power. Even after getting through Flygon, I have to deal with Haxorus, another bulky dragon type attacker. Eventually, after multiple attempts, I landed a lucky critical hit on Flygon, allowing me to fight Haxorus at nearly full power. A few bulldozes to lower speed and a Flare Blitz later, and I was clear. But keep in mind, this will not be the last we see of Haxorus. While I had started the day nervous and worried, I ended the day completely confident. We finished the day with $2,153 raised. We actually managed to pass our goal on the halfway mark of the event, and it only took talking like a cat girl for over an hour. I'm so sorry, Rockefeller. Start of day 4, and I was up bright and early. Very shortly before I went live, I got absolutely jump scared by the fact that we suddenly passed $2,600 raised. I had just started working on the next set of stretch goals the previous night, so here I am having to scramble DM the rest of the group to figure out what milestones we could put on for the next few days. Part of the reason that I set the goal to 2K was because I thought it would take to the last day of the event to fill out that total. Not just half the event! You see, those much more experienced with live stream charity event culture would reasonably expect and be prepared to pass their goals. Unfortunately, I didn't prepare for that in the slightest. Despite this, I still managed to get everyone's responses an hour before my stream started and just got the last set of stretch goals out there. Anyway, day 4 began by running through Team Plasma's Frozen Wasteland. After a bunch of nonsense, we got to Humalao City and gym number 8. Marlin was the gym leader I was the most scared of, as all of his Pokemon are just water types. One slip up and my run would just be over. It only took a few tries and a near loss against Jellicent, but I took home the last badge. It really wasn't anywhere near as bad as I thought Marlin's gym was gonna be. That means my only goal left for the day was to get to Victory Road. And by get to Victory Road, I mean I spent the entire day chasing after Neo Team Plasma. And in all honesty, not much of importance happens here until Clover showed up. With a set of 5 Pokemon, including both Magneton and Magnezone, I expected a drag-out fight dealing with paralysis. Nope, just 2 tries. Yeah, that was pretty anticlimactic. Now with the rest of Team Plasma defeated, it was time for the climax of the story. Kyurem absorbed Reshiram, becoming White Kyurem. This thing is a beast with the 4x fire resistance and huge stats, which then went down to a single Flare Blitz. At this point, I was on a roll, nothing could stop me. I was feeling energized, optimistic, ready to go. And then the Ghetsis fight started. You see, Ghetsis is a full team of 6, with 4 of them being problems. Cofagrigus turns off my ability Sheer Force, so less damage to go around. Seismitoad is terrifying as it hits both water and ground. His Drapion for some reason just has a ground move. And worst of all, Hydreigon has Rock Slide, which is near guaranteed to one-hit KO me. And after a few attempts, I just threw in the towel for the night. We had already raised 2.8k by this point. Being completely honest here, I wasn't sure we'd be able to fund the full elusive go-kart, but I was sure we could hit $3,000 raised. So I spent the rest of my night doing a bunch of grinding off camera the second I ended my stream. Day 5, the final day. When I woke up, it was the most relaxed I had felt the entire event. All the nerves were gone, the last stretch goals were right in front of us, and all that was left was to try and hit 3,000s. So I was setting up my stream, and Clover was still live trying to finish up her run. And then she gets hit with a $500 donation. Apparently, from Walter White and Jesse Pinkman. No, I am not joking. That, alongside a couple other donations, meant I started my stream with the total at $3,400. We were only $100 short of a full go-kart. I knew we could easily get that last $100 raised in a couple hours. And if I didn't, I'm sure my teammates would have. So I loaded up my save file, walked up to Getsus, and immediately got a giant donation pushing us over the goal. Not even 15 minutes had passed since the start of the stream. All the pressure was off. This was a victory lap. I obliterated Getsus in one try. Now the only obstacle left was Victory Road itself and to challenge the Pokemon League. And Victory Road was no trouble at all. Not even the last rematch with my rival Samurott could stop me. One critical hit superpower on the first turn did him in. But as I arrived at the summit, I got nervous again. Being completely honest, it was just way too easy getting up here. Darmanitan was nearly 20 levels above the Elite Four, but one rough fight would send me back to square one. Anyway, so the Elite Four was just a complete joke. Literally all of Grimsley's Pokemon are weak to either fighting or fire. Chantal and Caitlyn both get completely shredded by Flare Blitz. The only real threat was Marshall, as all his Pokemon had Rock-type coverage moves. Which really doesn't matter when you outspeed everything on his team. Following this logic, I was ready for the champion fight. I fully restored Darmanitan and walked into the champion's room. Problem is, the champion is Iris. Formerly a gym leader in Pokemon White 1, Iris is my worst matchup possible. 1 water type, 2 rock types, and 3 dragon types. Even worse, all 3 dragons have a super effective move against fire types. Iris isn't the dragon type champion. She's the anti-fire champion. Okay, round 1. Hydreigon goes down to 1 superpower. Aggron down to 1 Bulldoze. I'm feeling confident, so Haxorus comes out, I try Bulldoze, and it does almost no damage. And then I died to 1 Earthquake. Great. I immediately realized the problem. Superpower is an issue. 3 of her Pokemon are weak to fighting, but that attack and defense drop is horrible for a 1v6 battle. I can't use Superpower at all until almost the end of the battle where it's absolutely necessary. Even after making this realization, I did a few more attempts, but every time I would go down to Haxorus. I'm gonna be completely honest here, I thought the run was over. This seemed almost impossible. Even if I beat Haxorus, the whole second half of her team had a type advantage on me. So I just took the loss and went back to the Pokemon Center. But this was a whole month's worth of work and stress. Tons of people donated. We funded a full go-kart. My friends were all rooting for me. I couldn't just give up here. Run's over. Game, set, match. That was it. I beat Pokemon White 2 with only Darmanitan. As I watched the credits roll, I had a realization. This challenge run, for how difficult and fun it was, didn't matter at all. No, seriously. I wasn't really proud of myself for doing some masochistic challenge run. I was proud of everybody else who did it with me. Every single one of you on Team Cherish, Neverless, Azza, Nova, Brassica, Lacey, Pink, Gooey, Phoebe, Clover, and even Ben, you all did amazing. Together, we raised $3,785 for Gamers Outreach. And you know what, speaking of, thank you to every single one of you who donated during the live streams as well. We obviously wouldn't be here without you. While I exaggerate how stressful this event was for me, I loved every single second of being your fearless leader. All of us accomplished something amazing. The go-kart we funded is going to a hospital to be used by literally thousands of sick children. Thousands of people's lives bettered by just us playing Pokemon games for an audience. That is a magical feeling. There's a reason this kind of fundraising was called community chests 100 years ago. It's because you accomplish greater things together than alone. The act of giving is a culture in and of itself. Literally, 100 years ago, charity work was done door to door. Eventually, mail-in donations became prominent, word got out through radio and later TV. Now in the internet age, anyone can raise money for their cause. The Vtuber Summer Slam isn't just 10 of us, over 1,500 people participated in this event. Over 1,500 people who very specifically live streamed themselves on the internet with virtual avatars managed to raise $500,000 for charity. Even then, this is only a fraction of how much is done through live stream charity events. Just look at the game theorists raising millions of dollars for St. Jude. Even just this week, Iron Mouse raised $1 million for the Immune Deficiency Foundation by literally not going live. The internet gave everybody a way to give to charity, which in turn formed a culture of giving. And honestly, I think that's beautiful. While our campaign is long over, if you've been moved by this and can at all, I would highly encourage you to support Gamers Outreach. There's plenty of ways you can support them monetarily on their website, and you can even apply to be a volunteer. I've also made this video a fundraiser, so all ad revenue will go to them. Plus, you can donate through this video too. If you want to support me specifically, just liking the video and subscribing is appreciated. Bonus points if you drop a comment. This entire event was live streamed on this YouTube channel and on Twitch, so I'd love to see you at the next one. I've obviously got a lot of charity event rewards to fulfill, which will be streamed here too. Plus, if the Team Cherish Gartic phone video is done being edited, I'll have that linked on the end card. And speaking of, make sure to go follow everybody on Team Cherish. Obviously, I said it before, I have all their links in the description. Oh, and one last thing, see you all next year for Pokemon Omega Ruby Darmanitan only. Have an amazing night, Tropical Trainers!